All right, we are continuing with something interesting in the book of Genesis. We're in chapter 7. I'm going to share my thoughts a little bit on this chapter. And the Lord said unto Noah, Come thou and all thy house into the ark, for thee have I seen righteous before me in this generation. Of every clean beast thou shalt take to thee by sevens, the male and his female, and of beasts that are not clean, 2 by 2, the male and his female. Fowls also of the air by sevens, and the male and the female, to keep the seed alive upon the face of the earth. For yet 7 days I will cause it to rain upon the earth, 40 days and 40 nights. And every living substance that I have made will I destroy from off the face of the earth. And Noah did according unto all that the Lord commanded him. And of course, I'm reading from the King James Bible. Hopefully you can understand what I'm reading right now. This was a global flood. This wasn't just a regional flood. This was a global flood. And Noah was 600 years old when the flood of waters was upon the earth. And Noah went in, and his sons and his wife and his sons' wives with him, into the ark because of the waters of the flood. Now, I saw a movie with Russell Crowe in a few years back, which had, I believe it was called Noah, and it had Noah go in to the ark with his wife and his 3 sons, and but they had no wives. Just, I think one of the wives was pregnant, and it was got kind of weird. A little sideways with the watchers building the ark for Noah and all this kind of stuff. And I get it. You can stretch things out and all this kind of stuff, and come up with a theory that the watchers actually helped build the ark and all that kind of stuff. It was an interesting take for sure. I just didn't like the idea that I don't know, I can't remember, one of the characters broke into the ark and then also was able to stow away on the ark and all this kind of stuff. It's nowhere here, so that's a little bit of a stretch. The idea behind it was pretty cool, but other than that, it was kind of a stretch. And I always wonder why they change things so much that they can't just make Noah, his wife, and his sons, and his wife and his son's wives with him into the ark because of the waters of the flood. Just there, boom, just use that. Of clean beasts and beasts that are not clean, and fowl of everything that creepeth upon the earth, and there went in 2 and 2 unto the ark, male and female, as God had commanded Noah. And it came to pass after 7 days that the waters of the flood were upon the earth. And we have to understand that the animals did not have the fear of dread of man right now, so they were not afraid of mankind, other than the people that were actually making the animals corrupt, or they were ripping them apart, killing animals, all this kind of crazy stuff, doing DNA swapping and creating new creatures and all kinds of crazy stuff, giants, just really mixing with stuff that they shouldn't be mixing with. And all this stuff was happening in Noah's time, and the animals were basically innocent of all this stuff because they trusted people. And we see that after the flood, and I share that in another video, that the animals had the fear and dread of people because now people were allowed to eat animals, and that's where that came in. Before the flood, people were not eating animals. Their diet was fruit and vegetables, and the diet of animals was basically fruit and vegetables as well, plants, all that kind of stuff. They did not eat each other, so which is interesting. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the 2nd month, in the 17th day of the month, the same day were all the fountains of the great deep broken up, and the windows of heaven were opened. So this is not your typical flood. This is the fountains of the deep, which I believe below the surface of the earth. I don't know how many miles, maybe 6 miles, 7 miles below, that there are fountains of water that probably rival the ocean that we have right now on earth. And I also believe that there are waters in heaven as well, above the earth. And it's interesting that NASA, and I'm not going to go into this stuff because this video could get banned depending what you talk about, or YouTube channel, all this kind of stuff. But based on the Bible, what I read in the book of Genesis, I believe that there is water, yes, out in space above the firmament. And I also believe that there is a huge pocket of waters below the surface of the earth. And I find it interesting. I took a class on, what was it, just learning about oil and all this kind of stuff, where it came from, how they process oil, rigs, all that kind of stuff, you know, ocean rigs, all that. And what's interesting was one of the engineers said that, and he wasn't a Christian, he just said that we don't have the technology today to dig past, 5-6 miles. We don't know what is at the center of the earth. We can only guess. We can just take a wild guess. We don't know if it's lava, molten lava. We don't know if it's water, liquid. We don't know because nobody's ever been there. So then a part of me is like, well, how on earth can we do all this stuff that we say that we're doing right now on Mars if we don't even have an idea of what the center of the earth is? And we can't get past 6 miles, but we're going to go to Mars and we're going to live underground for a few hundred years until we can figure out the oxygen thing and be able to live above on the surface of Mars. Why not just build a colony somewhere on an island here on Earth and just enjoy the oxygen, enjoy the air and everything like that? Like, why do you have to go to Mars for all that stuff? I thought we were going to the moon for a while and build bases there and all kinds of stuff, but that quickly stopped for whatever reason. So, and it's interesting, some of the conspiracy videos and all that they show NASA, and it looks like that they train in water, which is interesting to me that they would do all the training because they want to match the gravity, obviously, out in space where there is no gravity, and then on the moon surface and all this. So the best way for them to simulate that kind of thing is to actually practice in water tanks. I find that fascinating. So yeah, consider my theory anyway, based on what I've read in the Bible, that there are waters above space, above the firmament, and I believe that there's also waters below the surface of the earth, more water than they're letting us know. And this is what caused the flood. So the fountains of the great deep broke open, and then the windows of heaven were open, and it also rained on top of it. So there's a kind of a triple thing happening with the flood. So I know I might lose some of my audience here. They might click away and go, well, that's ridiculous to have water below the surface of the earth that rivals the oceans and all this kind of stuff. But that's, again, I'm not a scientist, but this is just what I think is going on. In the self-same day, Noah and Shem and Ham and Japheth, the sons of Noah, and Noah's wife, and 3 wives and the sons with them, into the ark. And if you have any resources or anything like that either conflicts with what I've said as well, that there is no waters in space and there is no waters below the surface. I'm not talking little streams, little rivers. I'm talking oceans below the surface of the earth. If you can find an article or a video that debunks that kind of thing, let me know in the comments with a link, and I'll be happy to look it up, because my research is just based on the Bible. So that's where I do all most of my reading and everything like that. So if you have some video that debunks that, then let me know that as well. Verse 14, and they and every beast after his kind, all the cattle after their kind, and every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth, and after his kind, every fowl after his kind, every bird of every sort, and went unto Noah, and into the ark, 2 and 2 of all flesh, wherein is the breath of life. And they that went in male and female, all flesh, as God had commanded him, and the Lord shut him in. And if you're curious, yes, I am a huge science fiction fan. Love Star Wars and all this kind of stuff. Hated it when they The last ones, what are they? Episode 7, 8, 9. Those are ridiculous. When they have Princess Leia go out, get sucked out into space, and then all of a sudden she was able to go back into the ship alive and all this kind of stuff. It's like you're giving her too much, a little bit too much power. And if they really believed the way the physics work in space, they would just be like, yeah, that we can't do that, because that's not what would happen. We wouldn't be able to retrieve Princess Leia from space without it affecting us. So anyways, it's just all kinds of crazy stuff like that. So especially in Hollywood, they're crazy over there. Anyways, verse 17, the flood was 40 days upon the earth, and the waters increased and bare up the ark, and it was lifted above the earth, and the waters prevailed and were increased greatly upon the earth, and the ark went up upon the face of the waters. And the waters prevailed exceedingly upon the earth, and all the high hills that were under the whole heaven were covered. 15 cubits upward did the waters prevail, and the mountains were covered. So again, how would Noah know that the waters prevailed 15 cubits above the mountains? Well, he would have a measuring rod, which would be the ark itself. The ark is 30 cubits high. So if you were to observe, maybe perhaps with that window, if you open up the window, not the door, not the side door, because you're going to sink the ship, but if you were to open up the window that is on the top and have a little sneak peek, you can see the waves going up and down, and you could probably see the mountains being covered, and then they're being revealed, and then the mountains are being covered. You can quickly guesstimate how high up you are based on the height of the ark. So 15 cubits, if the waves were that high, you could figure out quickly how high the waves were compared to your boat, your perspective, and all this kind of stuff. Just an interesting way to measure things. This is what I would do if I was in the ark. I'd peek my head out every once in a while. And all the flesh died that moved upon the earth, both of fowl and of cattle and of beast and of every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth, and every man. It's important. Every man died. There was no survivors. All in whose nostrils was the breath of life, and all that was in the dry land died. You know what's interesting about this is when it says that every creature died, every cattle, every beast. Sometimes think like with the pyramids, that maybe they were built before the flood and they just withstood the flood. They survived the flood, if you will. If that's the case, and if you have documents that are in watertight vessels and stuff, it wouldn't be very hard for someone to borrow or steal that technology and use that to make wealth here on earth, because King Solomon said in Ecclesiastes, there's nothing new under the sun, which is interesting. So did Noah bring some artifacts or some books or technology, if you will, onto the ark so that he can rebuild cities and stuff? Perhaps. Doesn't say anything here, but it's an interesting idea that if you're harvesting crops and all that kind of stuff, you might want to keep some of those specimens as well, so that when you do land, you can grow some of your favorite flowers, you can grow wine, all this kind of stuff. So maybe that's what Noah did in his family. Maybe that kept them busy for the time that they were in the ark, to make sure that they were able to grow corn, different vegetables, different fruit and vegetables, maybe wineries. I don't know. It's interesting though. So verse 22, all in whose nostrils was the breath of life, and all that was in the dry land died, and every living substance was destroyed, which was upon the face of the ground, both man and cattle, and the creeping things, and the fowl of the heaven, and they were destroyed from the earth, and Noah only remained alive, and they that were with him in the ark, and the waters prevailed upon the earth 150 days, which is interesting as well, 150 days. So that's it for chapter 7. Hope you got something out of it. If you have and you've made it this far, feel free to subscribe to this channel. Feel free to leave a comment. All comments are welcome. I do not turn off my comments. And again, I'm reading out of the King James Bible, the Open Bible, King James Open Bible. I love this thing. And yeah, don't forget to subscribe as well. I really appreciate your time, and I'll see you in another video. Bye for now.